There are so many people that made this possible. Of course, I want to thank my God. It is also here in Chicago that a reverend by the name of Jesse Jackson. Reverend Jesse Jackson told us that we can keep hope alive.
That was the victory speech for Brandon Johnson, who won the mayoral race in Chicago. And it was great news for progressives because he was the progressive candidate who was up against a man who is referred to himself as more of a Republican than a Democrat, even though he was running as a Democrat. And that was, of course, Paul Vallis. He was also endorsed by the police union. He was also endorsed by the Chicago Tribune's editorial board, which might explain the headline from the editorial board after Johnson won the race. Mayor-elect Brandon Johnson found a place in his acceptance speech for God, but not Barack Obama. Come on.
That is an Onion headline, Anna. We would hear all of these. Remember when Barack was in the office, we would hear stuff about Obots and the Dems are crazy. They're treating him like a messianic figure. Also, now that he's out of office, it's like, oh, he's the Pope of the Democratic Party. Blah 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 blah. Like this is what people are talking about. What in the hell? Why in the hell would this progressive dude who ran a super mega progressive campaign and won on that message, why in the hell would he thank Barack milquetoast centrist ass for anything? Are you kidding me?
They're not kidding. I mean, first of all, no one should be forced or feel pressure to mention anyone in any acceptance speech. Like, who cares? But by the way, the worship of Obama by some Democrats, it's like a special flavor of Democrats. It's not all Democrats, but
no, not at all.
The ones who see Obama as like a god, man, they are intense. And I remember what it was like to come to the realization pretty early on in Obama's first term that the whole hope and change stuff that he ran on, the progressive message he ran on, was just a campaign strategy, and he actually had no intention of, maybe rolling back some of the terrible foreign policy of the Bush administration. No, he did the opposite. He extended and expanded that foreign policy. He immediately reneged on universal health care and said that he was at first very supportive and wanted to fight for a public option, but abandoned that almost immediately when it came to the Affordable Care Act. But I remember Cenk specifically covering those stories in typical Cenk fashion, and the hate that we would get was intense. It was so intense. And that's the reason why I'll always have like a deep level of respect for Cenk, because he kept sharing the truth with the audience, knowing that there would be backlash. But eventually we ended up with the audience that we wanted, a group of people who understand nuance, who are open-minded, and don't blindly support politicians for no reason. If Obama ran on something and he's doing something different from what he ran on, he should be called out for it. I would suspect that the Chicago Tribune editorial board, they're the group of Democrats who think Obama's a god. I mean, they compared him to God in some ways with that headline. So Johnson found a place in his acceptance speech for God, but not Barack Obama.
But not, this man thanked his God and not Barry.
Crazy. All right, let's get to some of the excerpts, because it's not just the headline. Sometimes there's like a provocative headline, and then you read the body of the piece or the editorial, and it's really not that bad. But no, this is bad. Following a victory that came as a huge surprise to many, Johnson ticked off the long progressive legacy in Chicago, citing Washington, Jane Addams, Jesse Jackson Sr., and other politicians who had endorsed a campaign that was not supported by many of the older black leaders in the city. Okay, he found a place for God, but not strikingly for Barack Obama, inarguably the most important leader this city ever has produced. The omission was telling, a reminder that the progressive movement of which Johnson now is a Midwest standard bearer feels ambivalent about the former Chicago community organizer and his more pragmatic legacy. Oh, don't you love it when they start throwing the word pragmatic around? Pragmatic, like, again, continuing some of the Bush era garbage that voters wanted to do away with, which is why they elected him instead of John McCain.
An incredible wealth transfer to his buddies in Wall Street, unprecedented. Before that, leaving Main Street behind to just pick up the pieces. By the way, this brother is black, and I think that's part of the subtext of that headline, that this guy is a black progressive from the city, and he should be kissing up to Barack Obama. Nobody, no cohort of people lost more wealth as a percentage of their wealth during that crisis, the financial crisis of 2007 and 8, than black people. Okay.
Yep.
And the people who were not made whole by that loss, black people. Okay. Barry and his pragmatic ass. This is absurd.
I mean, the quantitative easing that has really screwed over our economy was on overdrive during the Obama administration. Rather than focusing on how to help Americans keep their homes instead of getting foreclosed, Obama was on board with the quantitative easing by the Federal Reserve, which did what? It provided liquidity to the banks. What did the banks do with that money? They did corporate stock buybacks.
Of course, always.
They bought the inventory of homes that obviously led to a housing crisis that we're all now dealing with. They're the ones who ended up buying the foreclosed homes with the money that was given to them by the Federal Reserve. And the idea was, no, but this is actually great because the homeowners that took a hit in terms of, they were able to hold on to their homes, but the value went down, because the economy, it's experiencing a downward spiral, the value of the home goes down. So let's help the homeowners out by increasing the value of their homes by minimizing the inventory. Okay, but how did that work out for everyone? Where are we today with that disastrous policy? Anyway, there were all sorts of issues with the Obama administration. He accomplished some things, I don't wanna erase that, but to treat him as if he's a god is insane. And look, the subtext here.
To invoke God directly before is just.
It's so crazy. It's so crazy. I'm not even a person of faith, and I think that's crazy. It's so insulting to people of faith to have a headline like that, to make an argument like that. Anyway, but that wasn't enough Obama ass kissing. They continue. The city and the nation have traveled far away from 2004 when Obama delivered the unforgettable keynote address at the Democratic National Convention in front of 9 million viewers and began his meteoric rise. Many of Johnson's most enthusiastic voters were still in middle school. These young people, they just don't know about that Obama magic. They just don't know. That is the laugh that I've been waiting for all show, which is why I saved this story for you.
Dude, just the idea that in the year of our Lord, 2023, there are Democrats, liberals out there who think that Obama was some boon to normal people. That it was this great happening for people, even with all of the, we're far enough away from it, from the decisions he made to understand clearly what the consequences were. That you can not self-consciously in any way come out and give a full-throated slurping of this guy in the biggest newspaper, in the third biggest city in the country. Is just crazy.
Yep, it really is. And I think the editorial board is realizing that the neoliberal brand of democratic politics has fallen out of favor with voters, with a lot of Democratic voters, because it hasn't worked out for them It has worked against their best interests. It has worked against personal finances, economic stability. I mean, economically speaking, ordinary Americans every year are in a worse place. And things really started to decline after the 2008 economic collapse and the terrible governmental response to it. And so they don't understand why someone like Brandon Johnson could win over the so-called centrist Paul Vallas in this mayoral race, because centrism might have worked out real great for them, but it's not working great for everyone else. But they can't see past their own experience and whatever their lived experience is. And it doesn't, like, that's the thing that gets to me, was if you work in the news business, it should be because you actually give a damn about the perspectives and the lives of others. And in this case, it's like, no, we loved Obama, it worked out for us. What is this progressive stuff? Let's do away with it. We're not into it. And look, the other subtext is they endorse Vallas and they're upset that Vallas didn't win. So they had to find some ridiculous way to nitpick Brandon Johnson even before he gets sworn in as mayor of Chicago. Insane.
The nerve of this guy, and God, who does this guy think he is? What's this guy doing?
Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.